I'm Sakinah Iman, a Caribbean-American filmmaker and actress from Brooklyn, New York. So I am a teacher at heart. When I originally wanted to work in show business, I thought entertainment that had an educational feel to it. So I first started out in educational theater. So I started working with a company called Too Deep Entertainment in Albany, New York while I was in college, and then I stayed working with them 2 years after college. We used to travel around the tri-state area and work with colleges and orientations and schools, churches, I mean, you name it, like, new businesses or hospitals where they needed someone to like act as the trainer for people who are coming to be doctors. We just acted all over the tri-state area. And then from there, I went into a bigger educational theater company called Catharsis Productions, and that was worldwide. And they used to fly me out to different countries, and I would be doing educational theater. So that was like the main thing that I wanted to do, was have work that spoke with a really powerful purpose. When I was younger, I did want to be like the Halle Berry, I would just want an Oscar or an Emmy or a Tony. I did want those things. I auditioned for a master's in acting at Columbia. This woman named Kristen Linklater, she's like the guru of voice coaches. And so they taught her work at Howard, at Yale, and so she taught at Columbia. And I auditioned for that school, and she asked me, why do I want to be an actress? And I was like, I want to be on Broadway. And she was like, Broadway, you say? And I was just like, she was so intimidating. I actually got in, and she was the one who called me for my acceptance. She was just like, we'd love to have you. That's a whole nother story. But yeah, no, so I did want all those things. But once I decided, why do I want to act? I had to sit with myself and figure out, why is it that I want to be on stage? Why do I want to share a story? And I want all my stories to teach. I want all my stories to provoke thought and change perspective and culturally shift a generation. So usually I get a team of people, whether it is a cinematographer or a sound person. I try my best to create my own content. I didn't start out like that, but I started to realize that was more important than trying to get roles. So I do my best to just create content, whether it's music videos, because I do music, I sing. I also am in the studio at times and I'm creating songs. So I'm recording, so I'll have a producer, a mixer, an engineer, and I'll just constantly collaborate, constantly see who's willing to work and who's willing to put out more content for their repertoire. So it's I find people who are also building so that I don't have to come out of pocket every single time. So that's the main thing. Sometimes I'll occasionally still look for auditions, and I'll still audition, and I'll still have friends who create films and they want me to act in their films. And then also I know filmmakers from film festivals, and so I'll work with them as well. It's just a grind. So rejection is a huge thing for any actor. The way I handle it is I try to balance out the yeses and the nos, because you're always gonna get 90% no's and 10% yeses, probably even 99.9999 no's. And so I do my best to create yeses for myself, which is why I create my own content. Those are always going to be yeses because you're putting it out and people are going to love it and share it. So I also surround myself with people who love me, who are going to encourage me, who are going to kill the doubt in me. I feel like the imposter syndrome is something that I've always battled with, because I feel like my entire life people have been trying to tell me, you're great, you're awesome, you're amazing, you're so unique, I love this that you do, I love that you do, but I still constantly feel like it's not enough, or I need to be doing more, or I'm never going to get to this point or that point. And so I feel like the main ways that I deal with the imposter syndrome is by just putting myself out there regardless of how I feel. I used to tell my friends, I don't know if we could curse, so I'm just going to say F. I used to tell my friends, we can curse? Okay. I used to tell my friends and people who ask me for advice, I'm like, fuck your feelings, okay? I could be feeling the shittiest ever. I could feel the shit on the ground. But you just have to keep pushing. There was one point where I had a long shift. This one was when I used to work at a juice bar, and I was working a really long shift. I think it was 9 hours, and I had a competition that night. And instead of deciding I'm not going to do the competition, I left work, went to like a Dunkin' Donuts bathroom, put on my makeup, and was like, I have to go to this competition. I don't think I'm gonna win, but I just have to see it through. And so I go to the competition, and I freaking won. I won a trip to Atlanta. They flew me out to Atlanta, and like I had the best time at this music festival. I got to perform with like some incredible people. So it's like if I decided in that moment after work that like, oh no, I'm feeling like shit, I can't do this, why I do this anyway, then I would have fed that doubt, that imposter syndrome, as opposed to like fucking my feelings. So I said, F my feelings, I'm gonna, go to this thing, and beautiful opportunities, were brought up from it. He Wants to Know My Number is a 4-minute short that I created. It originally started as a spoken word piece that I just used to perform all over the city. It was a piece that I actually wrote 10 years prior to shooting it. I wrote it with the company that I worked with in college called Too Deep Entertainment. And this was a piece that we would just like have me perform everywhere. But then people would request me to perform this piece, whether it was like a Sweet 16 or like, somebody's lingerie party or hip hop event, or a professor at Columbia asked me to perform it at his doctoral thesis class. Like it was just random things that I was getting paid to perform this piece. And then I was asked for someone to see it like, on some type of screen. And I was like, I don't have it on a screen. I just have me performing it with like a bunch of people cackling in the background and like laughing. And so I had to create a film of it so that I can shop it around to people who wanted me to perform. And so that's how I created the film. I didn't think that it would be this big thing. I just thought, oh, okay, I need to have this on film because I only have it on stage. So that's how it came about. So when I put it out, I started to put it in film festivals, it started to win awards, and it like just kind of spread. And then Showtime found it and was like, can we license your film? It's great. And that piece is pretty much talking about the double standard between male and female promiscuity, and how it's just not fair that men can be seen as these players and, cool when they have all these sexual partners, but women are like automatically sluts if we have one partner. I've had men after the show come up to me and say that they didn't realize how absurd it is to ask a woman for the number of sexual partners, or to base her level of class or worth on the number of men that she slept with. And so that's really like, I want there to not be such a huge double standard, because we're all human. Like we all obviously, we also are animals. So we obviously all are going to do animalistic and inhuman things, which is one of the most basic things that we can do, is to have sex, I just want women to have that same level of respect when it comes to their bodies. And I feel like that was something that really happened. And I saw after performing that, every time people would be like, wow, I didn't see it this way. So I want to create that cultural shift in the perception of how women should be treated with their own bodies. Creating your own content, if you don't see yourself represented in media, is crucial. And I think that's the main reason why I had to create my own content, because I didn't see women who looked like me in starring roles, or roles that depicted another form of a Black woman. It was always that angry Black woman who was like the best friend of a lighter skinned Black woman who looked almost like she was Caucasian. So it's like, if Issa Rae or Michaela Cole didn't create Insecure or Chewing Gum, like those things would have never existed, and they would have never been the leading role of anything until maybe 30 years later, when they were like trying to get, fight the good fight and be in a role. You have to create that person, because there might not be you might be a niche character that wasn't created yet. One of the biggest challenges was finding roles that spoke to me and my story, and who I was as an individual, as a Black woman who was Caribbean American, from Brooklyn, New York. There weren't stories that I felt at all connected to. So when I would audition, sometimes it would be difficult for me to play a role. I'm like, I don't even know how this person is talking. Like, how do I relay this message if I just can't understand this character? Or I can empathize with the character, but I feel like she's nothing like me. So that was difficult until I decided to create my own work. But then another difficult thing, or a big challenge in general, is saying no to the things that make money but have nothing to do with my art, and balancing out continuously being the artist self that I am, and also making money. Like that's really the hard part, because I have so many offers of things that have nothing to do with art. They're like, yeah, you can do this. Can you do this? And it's all like science-based and things that I studied as well. I don't want to like say yes to all these things just for the money and then take away the time that I need to be putting into my art. Anyone deciding to come to New York, starry-eyed, ready to pursue their dreams, whether it's acting, dancing, singing, whatever art form is your art, I would definitely say to be as realistic as possible, as humanly possible. Like, make sure that you have a plan, because being an artist is an expensive sport, okay? I mean, there's like headshots, there's reels, there's outfits, there's branding, there's marketing. Nowadays, we have to do everything ourselves. No one is like, unless you have a team, which if you do have a team, that's awesome. But I would definitely say if you don't have a team, find people who can help you, collaborate with you. All these things are so important, because it's not how it is back in the days where you go to like a couple of auditions and then you find this huge producer who's like, I want to make you a star. It's not like that anymore. So you kind of have to be your own entire production team, be your own manager, and your own agent. So I would say get on these acting websites, put yourself out there, use social media, use all the resources that you can, but be as realistic as possible, because chances are you are going to be the one to create your career, not someone else for you. So I've been doing this for 15 years, and I want to say that my perspective has changed tremendously from when I was younger in the acting world. I'm still hungry, but before I was hungry and almost desperate. I feel like that's normal for a young person in this business, where they want all the parts, so they'll do anything for the part, That can be dangerous and harmful to not only your sanity, but to how you come off, and how people treat you. You have to know that you do have a limit, you do have a standard. As I'm getting older, I say no more to opportunities. And I'm like, no, actually, that's not worth it. I don't want to do this. I know my limits now. And so I set boundaries for myself, and it really empowers me. Yeah, I would say now I have a lot more boundaries, and I'm not desperate for roles. I'm just like, okay, I'm going to choose what I want, and I'm going to choose what speaks to me and speaks to the messages that I want to put out in the world.